All right, hey guys, what is up? It is Bibzuda back here once again on the Outlast Trials, and in this video we are going to be doing a full guide and breakdown of all of the different movement abilities you have in the game, from the very basics all the way up to the most niche tech that you might barely ever find a use for, but will still help you out occasionally. Now, some of these are things that some people don't even know and that I use in almost every trial, so this will hopefully help you out, especially if someone is new to the game. Maybe you're getting into Invasion, the PvP mode, and you want to be able to avoid those imposters more easily. Some of these might help you out with that, and just traversing the map quickly, quietly, and as effectively as possible. Even if you're experienced, there might be some things in here that you don't know. So yeah, I'll leave timestamps down below so that they show up on the bar for the different things I'm talking about, because we do start very basic here. We are going to start at the very lowest level and then move up, but as we go on, things will get more complex and more niche in terms of their use. So without further ado, let's jump into the first thing I want to talk about, which is the very first basic thing: walking. You can walk around just by hitting those directional keys, moving that joystick, whichever, just like any game. Now, the important thing to know about walking is that it makes a level 1 sound. If you enable sounds on your crosshair, it's in the settings here. You go to general and enable the noise indicator. You'll see these little parentheses around your crosshair. That shows how much noise you're making. And walking is always a level 1 sound like this. So that is important to know, and we'll be comparing things to that in this video. And also important to note, I do not have any amps on, but if you have noise reduction, it makes running also a level 1 sound, among other things like opening doors as well. Those are the two main things it affects, which is very strong, but we're going to have that off as a baseline for this video. Of course, then with the run button, you can hold that to run, and that makes a level 2 sound without noise reduction, which is much more audible to enemies, and they'll react much more quickly. And you also use up your stamina. Of course, that's the stamina indicator on my bar, and when you stop running, that will regen. So yeah, pretty simple basics here. And then of course the other thing you can do that's very basic is crouch and move around. Crouching and moving around makes no noise at all. Enemies cannot hear this, and as you can see, that is the case with the crosshair. You also use no stamina for this, obviously. However, it is a bit slow unless you have the incognito amp, which gives you a bit more speed while you're moving around. So those are the main basic movement that you can do in the game. Now let's get into some things that are slightly more interesting. First of all, there is sliding. Sliding is a prescription that you actually have to unlock, although it is tier 1. It's probably something you have pretty early on. You basically crouch while running and you will slide. And this is not that useful, really. You can mostly use it to slide under things like noise cans or Franco lasers or the twins' little nausea bottles. But it can also be good to use while you're an imposter to slide and avoid reagent projectiles, potentially. So that's a thing you could use it for in the PvP mode. But it can be nice as well to use that to just get a little bit of extra distance a little bit more quickly and avoid getting hit, like sliding into one of these things or something like that. So that is maybe something you want to use, but slide, pretty basic. So that's also probably in the basics category, but it is slightly different than the first three. All right, I had to quickly pause there to go grab this item for this next thing I wanted to talk about, and that is adrenaline. So there's a few ways you can get adrenaline, and I'm not going to talk about the items too much in particular in this video. I do have a whole video where I go over the items for very new beginners to the trials, but basically you either have this adrenaline item or a stamina booster, or the blind mine upgraded can give you adrenaline as well. And what all adrenaline does is basically give you unlimited stamina for a brief period, and it also speeds you up slightly as during that period as well. So as you can see, this is our normal run speed. And again, our stamina is depleting, of course, and then I inject the adrenaline, which slows you down briefly, and then we are faster a bit, and we have unlimited stamina. This is very useful while you're carrying something heavy, or if you need to run away, or if you're low on stamina and get caught out, then you're going to want to use that to get yourself some stamina back and get away quickly. One thing that's important to know about adrenaline is it does distort your sound quite significantly, which can make it hard to hear things like mines on the floor, so you got to be careful there. But otherwise it's very useful, especially again for carrying objectives around, and I would recommend it for that. The next thing I want to talk about is the ability to look behind you while running. That's a little thing that you might not know about or use too much, but you can hold Q or E. I'm not sure if the button's on controller, but it's probably the bumpers or something while you're running, and you will look over the shoulder that you hit the button on. And that can be useful for knowing if you're being chased, or for a specific thing that I'll show a little bit later that's not necessarily an easy tactic to employ, but yeah, that's important to note. And then as an extension to that fact, you can also do it while walking. If you first run, then hold down the look behind you button and then stop moving, and then you can just walk as much as you want or not move, and you're still looking behind you. Just don't let go of the button, and that can be useful again for a little tech in avoiding hits that I'm gonna show in a little bit for a different part of the video. Next thing I want to show is things involving doors. So one thing that's important to know about a closed door is that there's a certain prescription that you need to have in order to smoothly run through open it, and that is the run and smash doors prescription. If you don't have this, then your character will, I think I can demonstrate it here, if we just do it at or actually maybe you can't actually show it, but basically your character will stop in place and kick the door open, which really slows down your momentum. But if you are sprinting and you click to open the door, you will bash it open like this as long as you have that prescription, and you can quickly keep going through. Obviously, if the door is locked, you won't instantly open it unless you have smash, which is an amp that lets you smash things down in one hit. But if it's a door that you know is unlocked or are able to just open, you know, because you can see the lock, then you can just do that and get through it quickly and easily. There's also something that very few people end up using, but can be very helpful, especially if you don't have noise reduction. Because if I click to open this door, that's a level 2 sound, which is pretty loud. But if you hold down the left mouse button, or whatever your door open button is, you can hold the door and then slowly open it by moving forward, and that doesn't make any sound. So if you have something like enraged enemies on and you're near someone and you have to be really quiet, you can do this slow door open to save you from getting heard, which is very useful, especially if you're going stealthy. And a lot of people, I feel like, never use that. They just end up opening the door and it's loud and they get caught out because of it. So yeah, those are pretty much all of the very basic level of things that you probably already knew, or at least could have picked up pretty easily while playing the game. Now we're going to go over some things that are a little bit harder to figure out while playing the game, and they'll slowly get more and more obscure. The first one is what's called the door snap, and basically it's while you're running through an open door, you click your door close button to close it and run through it at the same time. So I'll show it right here. I click as I'm running through the door, and you see my character reaches out and pulls the door closed behind me. It's pretty easy to get down. Just you can try it in the sleep room even to get it down, but just basically whenever the prompt comes up, you don't really have to time it too closely at all. Like honestly, let me just see if I can like spam click do it. Yeah, I even just spam click did that and it worked fine. You do have to be careful with how you do it though, because like if you're not running quite, you might end up closing the door like that, which it is faster to close the door, by the way, if you hold shift. As you saw, there's the slow, and then hold shift and close it, and it is quicker, which is kind of funny. But yeah, you can end up closing the door on yourself and getting caught because of it, but it's very useful to learn and know how to do just to, you know, slow down your pursuers, basically. And this is obviously extremely strong in Invasion to stop imposters from getting you. So yeah, it's also important to know how to quickly door snap on a closed door. So say I'm being chased and I want to get through this door and close it, I would click to open it, back up slightly, and then sprint close it like that. That's pretty much how you can do it most effectively, because if you open a door like that and then you try to instantly sprint go through it, that can work, but that is much easier to end up doing this to yourself. Doing a slight little back step makes it much more consistent to do the door snap in my experience. So I recommend doing a slight back step and then running through it, because another thing that can happen is if you open the door immediately and then just keep running through it and try to door snap, you can't do it because the door is not even done opening, so you can't close it. So like if I open the door and just run straight through and I'm spam clicking, nothing will happen. So to avoid that from happening, step back, sprint through, close the door. That's a very nice thing to be able to do on doors that are already closed. Moving on now past doors, there's a pretty useful tech for the no running variator and for the acid bucket objective, which I think most people would call sprint tapping. And it lets you do these things a little bit more quickly. It lets you do the acid bucket without taking damage, but also moving more quickly. Same with no running. You can move a little more quickly, but take no damage. And it's basically as simple as it sounds. You carry the item, and then you tap sprint. And as you'll see, my stamina is going down, and I'm taking like one step or so and getting a little bit further than I would a little bit more quickly with... Oh, shit. Okay. Sorry, Pusher tried to interrupt us there. That's why I picked this map. Is it has the acid, it's got this hiding place, it's pretty much got everything I need for this video, but yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, you can even practice it without the items, or if you have no running on, just again tap that sprint button, and as long as you don't do it for as long as you only do it for like 1 or 1.5 steps, you won't take damage from the acid or no running, and it can be very nice to use that, especially if you're going for a speed run or if you're trying to get to a door while you're being chased by someone. That can be very, very helpful. So sprint tapping, very nice for those particular scenarios, but not really useful elsewhere because you can just sprint normally and have no problems with that. Moving on now to the probably most useful tech that I get the most questions about on my stream, it's crouch jumping. So if you crouch, like I showed at the beginning where you make no noise, you can also press the jump button to jump around and you will still make no noise. And this is much quicker than moving just crouched. So if I'm just crouch walking here along this table, you'll see it takes me quite a long time to get to the other side. But if I jump along with the crouch jump, I'm already over there very, very quickly. Now, this does consume stamina, and it's very important to know that the number of times you crouch jump in a row will cause the stamina to increase the amount that's used with each jump. So as you'll see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 uses almost half my stamina with the 5th one. So you have to be a bit careful with how much you use it. You can use it like 1, 2, 3 times and it's fine, and then just wait like a couple seconds and then it'll reset and you can keep going with more if you want to. The amount of time it takes to reset the stamina, increased stamina consumption, is about as long as it'll take for you to get stamina regen to start happening if you're full, if you have all prescriptions. So that is that's important to know. Is you cannot, previously you could just completely spam this as much as you wanted and it would it would be completely free and not make you lose more stamina. They did nerf it by making this stamina cost increase as you do it more. And yeah, it's still very, very powerful. You can even do this while you're holding an objective item like a fuel can or a evidence head or something. You can use it to jump over, like say there's a psychosis mine right there, I can jump over it without making any noise at all. It's very useful, and I use it in pretty much every single trial to be stealthy and get around the map more easily and quickly while still staying stealthy and crouched. So crouch jumping, extremely useful. There's also an additional way of using the crouch jump, which is called the super crouch jump. And as far as I know, this is only doable on keyboard. I don't know if you can do it on controller. Some people have said there is a way, but I don't use a controller. So if you do, I apologize, but you might not be able to do the super crouch jump. Basically, on keyboard, I have, let me show my keybinds here because this is kind of important for it. Controls, customize. You'll see that I have crouch hold on left control and crouch toggle on C. You want to have some sort of crouch hold. I think you need a crouch hold button for this to work. So while you're crouched, you then hold down your crouch hold button, which for me is control, hold down the run button, and then move forward and jump. And keep all those buttons held down while you're doing it. Keep the crouch hold and the run button held down, and you will not make any noise, and do a full long jump and get a huge distance. So you can kind of chain these together like this and just get super long distances while making no noise, and you're very fast too. Of course, you can't do this with like an objective item or anything, but if you're just by yourself, got nothing on you, you can do this to extremely quickly be stealthily across an entire room in seconds. Now it does have the same stamina increasing penalty as the normal crouch jump, so you'll notice if I spam it a bunch of times, the stamina cost will go up and eventually pretty much exhaust me after 4 or 5. But still, this one is probably the most useful out of all of these. I mean, normal crouch jumping is, in my opinion, more universally useful, but if you have like a big patch of glass or something you need to jump over, you can just throw one of these in there. You really mix these up whenever whenever you need a longer distance. So you can go like crouch hop, long crouch jump, crouch hop, and then wait a little bit, do another long jump. So these two combined are very, very useful. One of the key and core movement techs in the game that I believe isn't going to be removed at this point because they already nerfed it in a way that it seems they want it to still be an option, but it's not as powerful as it was when you could completely spam it before. So yeah, that's a pretty cool little tech, and again, the long jump version is very, very strong and can help you avoid X-pops very easily. The next thing I want to talk about here is the crouch door snap, which is a similar trick to the crouch long jump in a way. You use the same button combo of holding your crouch hold button, your run button, and moving with W. And basically it lets you do a door snap completely silently. Now, of course, we showed the door snap before. Previously, you would have to run through the door to door snap it, which obviously in running incurs the level 2 sound, at least for a moment while you're doing the door snap. But you're able to do this door snap completely silently using crouch. So once again, I hold Control, Shift, and then I walk through the door, and whenever the door prompt shows up, I just click while still holding Control and Shift, and you will just slide through the door while crouched, and it'll make no noise and close the door behind you. So as you'll see here, I can't do it unless I'm moving forward, but as long as I Control, Shift, move forward, whenever the prompt comes up, I just zoom right through the door and it closes. So this is, again, a very, very strong technique to use and can save you a lot of time and danger and not make any noise when you're doing those door snaps. It saves you a ton of time. And additionally, you can actually do this with like an acid bucket, or I believe in no running as well, and you will not take the damage. So if I can show you here, Control, Shift, click, and I zoom through the door with the acid in my hands and get tons of distance much more quickly than you would even with sprint tap. This easily beats that in speed, and you can just zoom right through the door, take no damage, and not worry about spilling acid on yourself. So a very, very useful thing. Again, the crouch door snap, I would highly recommend learning how to do it and using it if you are on keyboard. And if you can do it on controller, then that's great as well, but I'm not sure how possible it is. And yeah, so those are all the little crouch techs. They're very, very useful, and I get a lot of questions about those, so hopefully that helps you guys out if you don't know about it. And again, helps keep you silent, stealthy, and quickly move around the map. The next few things I'm going to talk about are going to be a little bit more situational, or at least a little bit more difficult to pull off. The first one of them is going to be the hit juke. And this is kind of a movement tech, kind of an enemy tech. It's a little bit hard to pin it down, but I'm going to throw it in here, and we're going to go say hello to Coil, and I'm going to showcase this. Basically, the way this works is an enemy tries to predict where you're going to be, kind of, and hit you where you will end up. And so you can abuse this by sprinting towards an enemy and then stopping just before you would be in their range of where they'll hit you, and then they'll swing thinking you were going to keep running and be in that spot, and they'll hit nothing because you'll have stopped, and then you run around them. That's basically the gist of how the hit juke works and why it's useful. So let's go and find Coil. Here's Coil right here. So watch this. He's going to notice me and run at me, and I'm going to sprint towards him, stop, he's going to do a swing or a grab or something, and then I move back and then go around him. So you can do this as much as you want for the most part against any enemies that have swings. So there he goes, he swings, misses me because I stopped, and we'll do it again. And then I'll just run right past him. Jumping past is normally advisable because he will they can, like, depending on the animation you get from the enemy, they can recover pretty quickly. The most dangerous enemies to use this against are the giants that have weapons in their hands. If they do the cross push attack, let me get into safety here really quick. If you have a giant with an axe, the big axe weapon, and they do the attack where they go like this with the axe when you're doing the hit juke, that almost has no cooldown, and they can almost hit you immediately after doing that. So it's pretty unsafe if they do that animation to try and run past, but you can still try it if you want to be risky and potentially, you know, get a quick hit jukes. But yeah, that is very useful. It's a little bit of I guess you would call it an advanced tactic, and can be dangerous. Obviously, if you mess it up, you're going to get hit, which is going to, you know, be pretty bad for you. But if you're going for A pluses and things like that, if you're someone who tries to avoid damage, it can be very useful to save you time and avoid you having to stealth too much, because you can just, if it's a single enemy, or even you can do it on multiple enemies if you are you know, feeling confident, you can stop and then just run around them. Now, different enemies have different attack animations, of course. Like the small grunts will sometimes have a kick and then a wind up hit that can move them forward quite a bit, so you got to be careful for that. But for the most part, it's universally usable on almost anybody. Dangerous to use on things like the pitcher, and it doesn't work on the pusher, of course, because he just grabs you. It doesn't work on the berserker because he's blind, and that's about it. I think any other enemy that you would normally expect to get swung on and hit by, you can use this tech. So I can show it a little bit more, but I mean, watch any of my streams or videos and you'll see me using this, to be honest. But yeah, basically, you just wait for them to be actually aware of you and coming at you, and you do the run at them and stop. And then, you know, he tried to grab me, but I wasn't there. And it can be a little bit, like, you can't really chain them. Like, watch this. So I'll do that, and then he'll be done, and then he does like he did a lunge on me there immediately. Like, if they already start into a lunge animation, it will not work. You're not able to hit juke after that. But I can do it there, and it works. And then I can run back a bit, and then turn around and do it again. And then at that point, I would probably have struggled to get it to happen again. Important to note, you can also do this while walking. It does work. Like, if you have no running and you time it properly, you are able to do it with a walking move instead of sprinting, although it is harder and less consistent generally. Sometimes an enemy will go for a lunge from really far away and it won't work. And, you know, it is a high risk but high reward strategy, I would say. And is that going to be coil? No, that's the pusher. Okay. This guy's being annoying while we're trying to do this. Okay, let me try and show it while walking here as well. Again, more risky and more likely to mess up, but we'll see. So you walk at him, and then the same thing happened. So it does work, and I use it fairly often, especially when there's no running in play or if I'm exhausted. It is worth learning and doing, I would say. But yeah, I think I've adequately showcased this technique. It is going to get hit here because I failed my slide. But yeah, it is definitely very, very useful, and I highly recommend you learn how to do that. The hit juke little tech there, I guess you could call it. Alright, just a couple more things to showcase here for movement techs in this game. And we got the pitcher saying hello down there. The first of them, I have this small medicine, and I'm going to use this to showcase what I call the item use cancel. And basically, you know, using an item obviously slows you down a little bit, makes you unable to do other actions, puts you in a little bit of a precarious situation sometimes. What you can do is, if I start using this, I can jump to cancel it and then go back to what I wanted to do. You know, like I start to use it, jump, switch to my stun someone, something like that can help you out a little bit. And this can obviously cancel the usage of any item that you have. However, there's a little bit better way of doing it as well, where you can cancel the item right as you're using it, and that will still use it, but also get you out of the animation more quickly. And each item has its own timing for this, so you kind of have to experiment and learn them for yourself. But I would say healing items like the full heal, the booster, and the small medicine are the easiest to learn, Basically, it's right when you kind of touch it to your mouth almost is when you can jump and cancel it. So I'll showcase it here. And as you see, I am now completely out of it. I don't do the full drink back. I just touch it to my lips, immediately jump, and then I can go back to what I was doing, sprint, switch to my stun, do any of that. So that can be a useful little tech, and it can save you more often than you'd think. It looks like not a big time save, but really being able to do a little jump out and go to a different direction quickly when you're using an item can save you in a lot of situations. So I would recommend trying to learn the timings of different items and when you should jump and do that. And yeah, basically all you do is jump, by the way. I mean, I know I kind of didn't mention that, but I did showcase that you just do a little jump. And it can be a crouch jump too, which is obviously, again, silent, which we showed earlier. So that can be useful to know how to do and get a good feel for the timings of different items to save you in close situations. One of the last things that is fairly rarely useful, but in cases where it is, it can maybe help you out a little bit. It's mostly for speed rather than really saving you from damage, although sometimes if someone is at the bottom of a ledge, it can save you. It's known as the Sus slide, I believe, maybe because Sus is the one who came up with it, but don't quote me on that. That's just what I've heard it called and what I call it myself. And yeah, basically we're going to go over to this ledge where you can jump up a co-op jump. And that's most often where you're going to use it, is spots where you can jump up a co-op jump with someone else. In evidence. And it's this spot right here. So right here we can do a co-op jump to get up, and obviously you can run off of this and then land and you'll get like a little stagger. You can walk off while crouched and do a little dropping down animation, which is slow and still gives you a stagger. What you can basically do to avoid getting any stagger at all when landing is sliding diagonally off of it, like so. Allow me to demonstrate. As you can see, I sort of floated to the ground, and when I landed, I didn't make any noise down here. All the noise I made was up there, which he couldn't hear. I landed down here, and it was completely silent. It's a little bit more precise than maybe it looks in that demonstration. You have to be a certain distance away when you start the slide. You can't be right up next to it and slide and then still get it. You have to have the distance appropriately timed. So it can take some getting used to, and again, it's not really that useful, but it's one I wanted to include since it does exist, and it can help you, especially if you're going for a speed run or something. So I'll quickly show what not to do in this example. So you run up and then you like slide like super late. That just sends me off the ledge and I get the normal stagger. So yeah, maybe you can learn to use that. It can help on like Drill the Futterman, sometimes here. It's some trials on the docks where you're in the casino, but generally not the most useful thing, but still a cool tech to know and to beat your friends to Gooseberry's office. I guess you could use it for that in particular. The last thing is something I personally barely even know how to use, and apparently it's known as the Saint Walk. I believe Saint came up with this tech, and you basically, as far as I understand it, just like kind of spam crouch, and it's slightly faster than crouching, but also makes no noise. Excuse me. And that's about it. That's all there is to it as far as I understand it. You just spam crouch and you will move a little bit faster than just only crouching, but also make no noise. You want to use this in situations where you can't crouch jump, which is obviously generally going to be better. Or, if you're in between crouch jumps and you're waiting on your stamina to regen, you can do this a bit. I never really use this, but apparently it saves some time. And you can also do it while running, which I don't really know how to do. I guess this is using a small amount of my stamina, so I guess it counts. Right now I'm just holding down Control and Shift and then spamming crouch. So that's the Saint Walk / Saint Run. Again, I'm not totally well versed in that one because I don't really use it myself, but it does seem to be slightly faster and can maybe save you that tiny minuscule amount of time if you are someone going for those top level speed runs or something. But In summary, we learned how to walk, run, crouch, slide, what adrenaline can do for you. Learned how to look back while walking, door bash, slow door open, door snap, sprint tap, sus slide, crouch jump, super crouch jump, crouch door snap, hit juke, item use cancel, and at the end we learned the Saint walk. So there are quite a few different things in this video. Definitely review any of the ones that you maybe didn't get down totally on the first try. Or if you have any questions on any of them, let me know in the comments and I can help you out. If you have any techs of your own that I somehow missed in this video, leave those down there as well. I can cover things that are a bit more enemy focused or other techs in the game that aren't necessarily movement based in other videos, but this was mainly for movement. One thing I wanted to show as well is the look back and avoid attacks tech, which is something that I like to use where you just, and it is hard to use. This one I would not recommend generally doing, but I sometimes do it at the end of a trial. It's hard against prime assets, especially. I use this one the most against giants because they do big wind-up swings and take a long time to hit you. But you basically just run and look behind you and then stop and wait for them to come up and swing at you, and then run until their swing is not going to hit you anymore, stop again, and repeat. And it can help you avoid their hits if you're waiting for teammates at the ending or something like that. But generally is a bit more dangerous than like a normal hit juke. But yeah, with that, we are going to wrap up the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it helped you out. Let me know in the comments if it did. And my next video I'm going to be doing is a loadout breakdown. I have a video on my channel of that, but it's really old, before the barricade rig even came out. So I'm going to make an updated version of the loadout breakdown for beginners. Also, if you're a beginner, be sure to check out my item guide where I go over all the items in the game, where to get them, and what they do. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.